If your pool looks more like a swamp than something you'd actually swim in, don't panic. You're not alone. That green water is algae, and it's one of the most common problems pool owners deal with. You've probably already been to the pool store, spent $100 on 5 different bottles of who knows what, dumped it all in, and woke up the next morning to the same green mess. Maybe even greener. Here's the good news. You can clear that pool up in about 12 hours using cheap, simple products you can pick up today. No pool guy, no expensive equipment, no chemistry degree required. And stick around to the end. I'm going to show you the one thing that almost guarantees your pool will never turn green again. Let's fix this thing. Here's what nobody at the pool store tells you. Clearing a green pool is not about buying a bunch of specialty products. It's really about one thing: getting a massive dose of chlorine into the water and letting it do its job. That's it. Algae is a living organism, and chlorine kills it. The reason your pool is green right now is because there's not enough chlorine in the water to keep the algae in check. Maybe your pump was off for a few days. Maybe you went on vacation. Maybe it rained a bunch and diluted everything. Doesn't matter how it happened. The fix is the same. You're going to nuke it with chlorine, filter out the dead algae, and wake up tomorrow to a pool that's already turning blue. But the key is doing it in the right order with the right products. Skip a step or use the wrong stuff, and you'll waste your time and your money. So let me walk you through exactly what you need. Here's your shopping list. Everything on it is cheap and easy to find. First, you need liquid chlorine, not the granular shock in the bags, not the tablets, liquid chlorine. This is the same stuff the pros use. You'll find it at most hardware stores, pool supply shops, and even some big box stores. It usually comes in gallon jugs, and it's labeled as sodium hypochlorite, typically at 10% or 12.5% concentration. For a standard 10,000 to 15,000 gallon pool that's green, you're going to need about 3 to 4 gallons. If your pool is bigger or the water is really dark green, grab 5 or 6. It's cheap. Usually a few bucks a gallon. Don't overthink it. Now, why liquid chlorine instead of the bags of granular shock? Here's the thing. Most of those granular shock products contain something called cyanuric acid, also known as stabilizer or conditioner. A little bit of stabilizer in your pool is actually a good thing because it protects chlorine from getting burned off by the sun. But here's the problem. Every time you add granular shock with stabilizer in it, you're raising that cyanuric acid level higher and higher. And when it gets too high, it actually wraps around the chlorine molecules and prevents them from working. So you can have a pool that tests positive for chlorine, but the chlorine is basically locked up and useless. That's why so many people shock their pool over and over, and nothing happens. They're making the problem worse with every bag they add. Liquid chlorine doesn't contain any stabilizer, so it goes in, does the killing, and doesn't leave behind anything that works against you. That's why the pros use it. Second thing you need is a basic pool test kit or test strips. Nothing fancy. You just need to be able to test your pH level. This is important, and I will explain why in a second. Third, you need muriatic acid. This is the one product that scares people, but it is easy to use if you handle it with some basic common sense. Wear gloves and eye protection. Do not breathe the fumes, and you will be fine. It is a few bucks a gallon at any hardware store. Fourth, and this one is optional, but I highly recommend it, grab a bottle of pool clarifier. This stuff helps clump the dead algae particles together so your filter can catch them faster. It's not required, but it can shave hours off your timeline. And finally, you need a pool brush. If you don't already have one, any standard pool wall brush works. Stainless steel bristle brushes are better for concrete and gunite pools. Nylon brushes are fine for vinyl liners and fiberglass. Alright, let's get to work. Step 1 is the most important thing most people skip, and it's the number one reason pool shock treatments fail. You need to lower your pH before you add the chlorine. Here's why. Chlorine is dramatically more effective at a lower pH. When your pH is sitting up at 7.8 or 8.0, which is where most green pools end up, your chlorine is only working at a fraction of its potential. But drop that pH down to around 7.2, and that same amount of chlorine becomes significantly more powerful. It's like the difference between trying to cut a steak with a butter knife versus a sharp blade. Same effort, completely different result. So grab your test kit, test your pH, and if it's above 7.4, add muriatic acid to bring it down. For most pools, about a quart to a half gallon poured slowly into the deep end with the pump running will get you where you need to be. Add it gradually, wait about 30 minutes with the pump circulating, then test again. You're aiming for 7.2 to 7.4. Don't rush past this step. This single adjustment is the difference between waking up to a blue pool and waking up to the same green mess you started with. Now, before we continue, if you're tired of dumping money at the pool store and still fighting cloudy water, I wrote a 39-page playbook called Jimmy's Pool Playbook, From Cloudy to Crystal Clear. It covers the grocery store method that replaces expensive pool chemicals with bleach, baking soda, and borax, the full slam process for green pools, a printable weekly routine, and the only 5 numbers you actually need to test for. I went from spending $600 a season to under $150, and my water has never looked better. My daughter helped me put it online, so the link below this video should work. Alright, let's keep going. Step 2. While you're waiting for the pH to come down, grab your pool brush and scrub every surface you can reach. The walls, the floor, the steps, around the returns, behind the ladder, everywhere. Algae clings to surfaces, and if you don't break that layer loose, the chlorine has to work a lot harder to penetrate it. You're essentially giving the algae nowhere to hide. The water is going to get even cloudier and nastier looking as you brush. That's good. That means you're knocking the algae off the walls and into the water where the chlorine can actually get to it. Don't skip this. 10 minutes of brushing will save you hours of waiting later. Step 3. Now we shock. Wait until the sun is going down, or do this after dark. This matters because UV rays from the sun destroy chlorine fast. If you dump all this chlorine in at 2 in the afternoon on a sunny day, you're going to lose a huge chunk of it before it even gets a chance to work. Evening or nighttime is when you want to do this. Take your liquid chlorine and pour it slowly around the perimeter of the pool with the pump running. Don't dump it all in one spot. Walk around the edge and distribute it evenly. For a green pool in the 10,000 to 15,000 gallon range, you're adding about 3 to 4 gallons. If your pool is closer to 20,000 gallons, or the water is swamp dark, go with 5 or 6 gallons. More is okay here. You're not going to hurt anything by going a little heavy. You want to overwhelm the algae. Half measures don't work. This is not the time to be conservative. Step 4. After you've added the chlorine, run your filter pump continuously. Do not turn it off. Not for 8 hours, not for 12. I mean, run it straight through until the water is clear. Your filter is doing the heavy lifting of removing all the dead algae from the water. The chlorine kills it, the filter removes it. They're a team, and they both need to be working. If you're using a sand or DE filter, keep an eye on the pressure gauge. When it rises about 8 to 10 psi above its normal clean pressure, That means it's getting clogged with dead algae. Backwash it and let it keep going. You may need to backwash 2 or 3 times during this process, and that's completely normal. If you have a cartridge filter, pull it out and rinse it off with a hose. Then put it back. A clogged filter is a filter that's not filtering, so stay on top of this. This is also when you'd add your clarifier if you picked some up. Follow the directions on the bottle, pour it in, and let the filter do its thing. The clarifier will help the fine, cloudy particles clump together so the filter can grab them. It's especially helpful for that stubborn, milky blue haze that sometimes hangs around after the green is gone. If you did this right, here's what you should see. Within a couple of hours, the water will start shifting from green to a cloudy blue or grayish color. That's dead algae. That's exactly what you want to see. It means the chlorine is winning. By morning, if your filter has been running all night, the water should be noticeably clearer. It might still have a slight haze to it, but the green should be gone. Keep that filter running, backwash as needed, and by the end of the day, you should be looking at a swimmable pool. Now let me cover some common problems in case things don't go perfectly, because I want you to be prepared. If you wake up and the pool is still green, not cloudy blue, but actually green, it means the chlorine got used up before it could finish the job. This happens with really bad algae blooms. The algae consumed all the chlorine you added, and there wasn't enough left over to finish the fight. The fix is simple. Test your pH again. Make sure it's still down in that 7.2 to 7.4 range, and hit it with another round of liquid chlorine. Same amount as before. Run the filter again. Sometimes a really bad pool needs 2 rounds. That's completely okay, and doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means the algae bloom was worse than average. If the pool turned cloudy blue but won't clear up even after hours of filtration, your filter is the bottleneck. It's loaded with dead algae and can't keep up. Backwash it or pull out the cartridge and hose it off. If it's still not clearing after that, that's where the clarifier really earns its money. Give it another 12 to 24 hours of continuous filtration, and it should come around. Patience is your friend here. The green to blue shift is the hard part, and if you're already there, you're 90% done. If your pool is clear, but has a bunch of dead algae sitting on the bottom like a layer of gray or white dust, do not run your automatic pool cleaner through it. That will just stir everything back up into the water and make it cloudy all over again. Instead, vacuum it to waste if your filter has a waste setting. This sends the debris straight out of the pool instead of through the filter. If you don't have a waste setting, vacuum very slowly and carefully to avoid stirring things up, then clean the filter immediately after. You might need to vacuum and clean the filter 2 or 3 times to get the floor completely clear. And that's normal. One more common mistake. Don't add algaecide at the same time as your chlorine shock. I know the pool store probably sold you a bottle. Algaecide is a maintenance product, not a rescue product. When your pool is green, chlorine is what kills the algae. Save the algaecide for after the pool is clear to help prevent a future outbreak. Using both at the same time can actually reduce the effectiveness of your shock treatment, and some cheaper algaecides will foam up and make a mess. Now the bonus tip I promised. Killing the algae is only half the battle. Keeping it from coming back is where the real win is. Here's what the pros do, and it's embarrassingly simple. Maintain your chlorine level between 1 and 3 parts per million at all times, and keep your pH between 7.2 and 7.6. That's it. Test your water once or twice a week and make small adjustments. The pools that turn green are almost always the pools where nobody checked the chemistry for 2 or 3 weeks, and the chlorine dropped to 0. Algae doesn't grow in properly chlorinated water. It physically cannot. So, if you just stay on top of those 2 numbers, chlorine and pH, you will almost never deal with a green pool again. And keep that cyanuric acid level between 30 and 50 parts per million. If it's higher than that, your chlorine isn't working efficiently no matter how much you add. That's everything. You don't need a pool guy for this. You don't need a cabinet full of expensive chemicals. Liquid chlorine, muriatic acid, a brush, and a running filter. That's your whole toolkit. If this helped you out, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment below if you've got a green pool right now. I'll help you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.